They put a dead pope on trial, dressed his corpse in holy robes, and screamed judgment at a body that had been rotting for 7 months. In the year 897 AD, Rome was plunged into darkness, consumed by brutal political conspiracies and deep moral decay. Pope Formosus had been dead for 7 months, yet his enemies still refused to let his decomposing body rest in peace. His ambitious successor, Pope Stephen VI, ordered a trial unlike anything the world had ever seen. He commanded that Formosus be exhumed, his corpse dragged from the cold earth to face merciless earthly justice. The soldiers trembled as they touched the decaying body, the stench of death filling the narrow crypt. They dressed the rotting corpse in the most magnificent papal vestments, preparing it for a grotesque spectacle. At the Lateran Basilica, a court was hastily assembled, the bishops shaking in fear of Stephen's fury. The lifeless body was seated upon a throne, its head slumped forward, silently facing its accusers. Stephen screamed at the dead man, accusing him of treason and violations of canon law committed during his lifetime. A young deacon stood trembling beside the corpse, forced to answer on behalf of the dead. Of course, the dead could not defend themselves, and the trial quickly became nothing more than Stephen's hateful monologue. The verdict came swiftly. Formosus was declared guilty, and all his decrees were annulled. The punishment began immediately. His sacred vestments were violently torn from the stiffened body. The 3 fingers of his right hand, once used to give blessings, were severed without mercy, symbolizing the stripping of his divine authority. The corpse was then dragged through the cold corridors, the sound of bones scraping against stone echoing through the halls. The people of Rome watched in absolute horror, unable to believe the blasphemy unfolding before their eyes. At first, Formosus's body was thrown into a filthy mass grave reserved for nameless outcasts. But hatred was not satisfied. He was exhumed again, tied with heavy stones, and thrown into the raging waters of the Tiber River. Soon after, a powerful earthquake shook Rome, destroying part of the church where the trial had taken place. The people believed it was a sign of God's punishment. A violent riot erupted. Stephen VI was overthrown, stripped of all power, and thrown into a dark prison where he awaited a tragic end. There, the mad pope was eventually strangled to death, ending his short and infamous reign. Later, the body of Formosus washed ashore and was discovered by a monk. Rumors spread that his corpse performed miracles. A succeeding pope restored his honor, returning his remains to St. Peter's Basilica for a proper burial. The trial of the corpse remains an eternal stain on history, a symbol of the darkest era of the Church. Today, the Vatican stands magnificent and radiant, but beneath its floors, the crypts still whisper stories of hatred that defied even death. History holds costly lessons about power. Obsession with power can turn men into monsters. What do you think about this insane trial? Leave a comment below so we can discuss it together.